Uptick in human smuggling cases in recent days. The agency says this week alone, agents have intercepted 15 smuggling attempts, rescuing nearly 100 migrants. It started Sunday when agents at an I-25 checkpoint found migrants from Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador crammed into an SUV. Over the next few days, they stopped 2 more cars carrying migrants and found more people hiding in a stash house, as well as got into a high-speed chase with the driver believed to be involved in a human smuggling scheme. In each case, agents detain the drivers. The migrants will be deported.
Tonight, 9 people in custody after a human smuggling bust in southwest Bexar County, and sheriff's deputies and federal agencies zeroed in on 3 different sites for this bust.
Yeah, the night team's John Paul Barajas joins us live at the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. John Paul, investigators tell us this comes after weeks of surveillance.
Steve, Stephanie, that's correct. Sheriff Javier Salazar explained to us that a few weeks ago they had some very violent crime of cars ramming into each other and shooting at each other that was just completely uncharacteristic. This cold's got me a little tongue-tied for that rural county community. So they started surveillance in that area, and that led them to this bust. A human smuggling bust turned into 3 scenes, the biggest at a home in southwest Bexar County near Somerset. The second, not far from that home, just up the road. And the third was a traffic stop of an 18-wheeler on the 410-35 interchange.
Today we developed some intelligence that there may have been some stolen vehicle involvement, along with some smuggling operations, and so our organized crime group converged on this area.
Sheriff Javier Salazar explained they were able to bring in 9 suspected human smugglers, 15 victims, and $60,000. At this time, all the victims seemed to be okay and were supposed to be heading north, some as far as New York. They're all now in Homeland Security custody. Sheriff Salazar adds, in searching the home off of Briggs Road, they made an interesting find.
There was a pretty sizable altar to Santa Muerte, which is the patron, what's considered to be the patron saint of drug smugglers.
Although no drugs have been found in this bust yet, he is confident this group that was stopped today is part of a much bigger organization.
Once we gather intelligence from a case like this, we feed it to all the partner agencies, and then everybody starts working from their end. And so from here, investigations like this tend to spiderweb out. And so absolutely, I think this one's not over by any stretch of the imagination.
Sheriff Salazar adds that these criminal organizations can bring lots of crime and violent crimes to the community. So he says anybody out in the county that sees anything that is suspicious or might be off to them, to please call them at 210-335-GANG. You can remain anonymous. At the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, John Paul Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
The smuggling bust unfolding in rural southwest Bexar County tonight. The sheriff says recent gunfights in the area led to the discovery. Here's what we know right now. 24 people are detained, 9 of them believed to be smugglers. Deputies swarmed 3 locations tonight. One is an alleged stash house. We have brand new photos of an altar found inside the house worshiping a saint linked to drug smuggling. The sheriff says stolen cars from San Antonio were brought to this home to get gutted and then used to smuggle migrants into the U.S. Eyewitness News reporter Henry Ramos is tracking all these new developments tonight.
This normal-looking home here off Briggs Road in southwest Bexar County is believed to be a stash house. It has been under surveillance because of recent violence in the area.
A couple weeks back, we investigated a kind of a running gun battle pursuit between 2 vehicles. One vehicle rammed another, just crazy stuff that we're not used to seeing out here.
The BCSO Organized Crime Unit has been keeping close eye, and today they stopped an 18-wheeler and several vehicles in what deputies believe was a human smuggling event. In total, 24 people were detained, 15 of those believed to be undocumented migrants.
Some of the understanding that we have is that some of these people were in the process of being smuggled up as far as New York from here.
Most were women, and the sheriff says they seem to be okay. In the bust, deputies say they found $60,000 in cash. They also searched this stash house that was empty. The sheriff says it was used to gut stolen cars. They also found a saint inside that leads the sheriff to believe this is something bigger.
There was a pretty sizable altar to Santa Muerte, which is the patron, what's considered to be the patron saint of drug smugglers. And so that pretty much tells us there that this was not just a human smuggling operation. This was most likely a drug smuggling operation as well.
And tonight, we're live outside the sheriff's office. The sheriff believes that this bust could unravel even more illegal operations in our area. As for the 24 people who were detained, they're in federal custody with HSI. We're live from BCSO headquarters tonight. Henry Ramos, KINS 5, Eyewitness News.
New information on that alleged human smuggling operation broken up by the Bexar County Sheriff's Office and Homeland Security investigations late yesterday afternoon. We were following it here on the 6 o'clock news yesterday. Well, federal officials releasing much more information about how they say this all went down in southwest Bexar County. According to the arrest report, it all started with Bexar County deputies getting a phone call from a concerned neighbor in the 11,200 block of Briggs Road.
And that's where that neighbor reported seeing about 50 people getting out of a tractor trailer and then going into a mobile home on that property. When deputies got there, they say they saw several people getting into different vehicles. Deputies stopped 4 of those vehicles and the semi and then called Homeland Security.
Investigators say those different vehicles were driven by 3 undocumented people and 1 U.S. citizen. Some refused to speak with investigators, but one that did told officials they were told to pick up the undocumented migrants by a woman they only knew as La Madrina. They were going to be paid $150 for each person they picked up.
Now, one of the suspected smugglers was also found with $41,000 that they were instructed to pick up when they went and got the migrants. We're still sorting through the rest of these arrest reports, and we're going to have much more on this on the Night Beat and also on KSAT.com. Now, we know 7 people have been arrested for their alleged involvement transporting non-citizens.
Yeah, but what happens with the others? Not the smugglers, but their human cargo. Garrett Berger talks with an immigration attorney about what typically happens to those that are caught up in a bust like this.
3 high-profile cases in 3 weeks just here in Bexar County. On the first, a chase with a van with immigrants locked in the back. On the 11th, a tractor trailer loaded with people on the far west side. Then Thursday night, a bust at a property in southwest Bexar County.
It seems to be a lot. It does.
Lance Curtright is an immigration attorney here in San Antonio. He thinks policies like Remain in Mexico and Title 42, which have blocked many immigrants, including asylum seekers, from entering the country legally, play into their decision to try another way.
They're making calculations, dangerous ones, where they'll get in the back of cars or get in back of vans and come to the United States and try to come illegally.
If they're caught up in a smuggling bust, Curtright says undocumented immigrants may be kept as witnesses against the people smuggling them before they're sent over to immigration officials. But that doesn't typically help them in their deportation case. There are visa processes for victims of violent crime or sex trafficking.
As a very general rule, people who have been smuggled in the United States on their own volition don't qualify for those programs.
Many, Curtright says, are seeking asylum, and they can still make that claim even if they're caught crossing illegally. Others, though, might be deported more quickly. The gamble they've made not panning out.
Some of the individuals have, had to rely upon criminal elements even to get up this far, which tells you how bad their situation must be at home that they're willing to take such terrible risks to get here.
Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
Accused of smuggling 3 men and a pregnant woman from Guatemala. Abel Navas Salazar is from Texas, but he was just arrested in Lee County. NBC2's Jennifer Veglas found out how he got caught.
Last night, FHP troopers laid down the brakes on one smuggler's scheme, pulling over 19-year-old Abel Navas Salazar of Pasadena, Texas, in this white Lincoln Navigator along I-75 South in North Fort Myers, just north of the Bayshore Road exit.
The trooper noticed a pretty excessive window tint. A routine tag check came back as not being valid and not being assigned to that vehicle.
That trooper quickly learned he wasn't in the SUV alone. Sitting in the back seat, 3 men and a pregnant woman.
The driver was extremely nervous, illegal immigrants from potentially Guatemala, and they were being taken to Miami.
Alan Wickett is a retired Pasco County Sheriff's Office corporal and board member of the Florida Alliance Against Human Trafficking. He says it often starts with a promise at the border, a brand new life under the sun, next to sandy white beaches, all for a fee.
Cost can be anywhere from maybe $3,000 to $10,000 or even higher than that.
Most can't pay that. So the smuggler holds the illegal immigrant in what's known as a debt bondage. Dr. Yaro Garcia with FGCU says that's when smuggling turns into trafficking.
A person already knows that it is easy to lie to them. It's easy to keep their rights away from them. It's easy to force them to work for 14, 16 hours for $20 a week pay.
Tonight, calling the traffic stop a blessing for the passengers, who avoided a situation that might have trapped them with no way out, as Nava Salazar sits in jail in Lee County. Jennifer Vaglas, NBC2.
One man is waking up behind bars this morning for allegedly driving illegal immigrants to various jobs. Saturday night, Chavez County deputies attempted to pull over 53-year-old Jesus Pena for speeding when they say he refused to stop for more than 3 miles. Once he did stop, deputies say they found 6 people in the back of that van. Deputies found out Pena was driving the migrants to jobs each day and also found cocaine on him. Pena has been charged with 7 counts of human trafficking, cocaine possession, and speed.
In the El Paso sector, U.S. Border Patrol agents disrupted 15 smuggling attempts, rescuing 91 migrants this week. Officials say last Sunday, Las Cruces Border Patrol agents found 10 migrants crammed into an SUV at the I-25 checkpoint. And on Tuesday morning, the Santa Teresa Anti-Smuggling Unit and other border agencies found 8 migrants in a car during a traffic stop. And that led to a stash house where 4 more migrants were found. Now, on Wednesday, agents observed a smuggling attempt in the parking lot of a local retail store in Santa Teresa, and officials say the driver tried to flee the scene when he noticed the agents and almost hit an innocent bystander. Now, the migrants were medically evaluated and processed accordingly, and the drivers were detained.
Is building a border wall. Candidate Joe Biden vowed to stop construction. Governor Greg Abbott started building his own wall, citing federal inaction. There is construction happening in the Rio Grande Valley. The federal government says it's building and repairing levees. But a local environmentalist tells the Kens 5 border team what may be called a levee looks much like a wall. Here's Anastasia Bolton.
I've been kind of keeping an eye on border wall construction since it started under Bush.
After many years of watching border wall construction, Scott Nickel can tell what's what.
You've got tall bollard border walls that were built under the Trump administration, and then the short bollard ones that link up with those that were built since the summer under the Biden administration. You know, construction is supposed to be stopped. It's not.
Nickel is an art teacher who calls himself a concerned citizen or an environmentalist.
The federal government has been very bad about providing information to the public. Sort of taking it upon myself to get out and keep an eye on it and take pictures of it.
He has thousands of pictures. Several drone videos show government's progress over time.
They're tearing into the levee, they're pouring concrete, they're putting steel bollards on top of that. They're basically building the same border walls that Trump called for.
In an email, Customs and Border Protection told us back in 2019, approximately 13 miles of existing earthen levees in Hidalgo County were modified or removed in preparation for levee barrier construction. We asked for a detailed map and specifics of what was being done. CBP said that wasn't available. CBP did tell us the levees without concrete would not be able to handle the steel barrier on top, and concrete levees were more resilient, providing better protection. The guardrails, CBP says, are designed to protect agents, first responders, and anyone else from accidentally going over the concrete levee.
We yelled and screamed for them to fix it.
Hidalgo County Judge Richard Cortez told us some levees in Hidalgo County did need repair last year, the result of President Trump's border wall construction that was halted by President Biden.
My concern was the safety of our citizens for flooding.
Judge Cortez says the damaged levees have been fixed. He was escorted to check that out, asked about the bollards, and was given the same, their safety-related answer that we got.
And I can only tell you what it looks like, and yeah, it looks like a wall. It looks like a wall. And it looks like a wall to keep somebody from climbing it as opposed to protecting a vehicle from falling.
After all these years of fighting against the wall and still watching construction on the border, Nichols says he is not deterred.
The Berlin Wall seemed like it would last forever until it was torn down, and I hope that that's the case for the border wall as well.
With Jose Sanchez in Hidalgo County, I'm Anastasia Bolton.
Last month, CBP announced it was conducting environmental planning for proposed 86 miles of new border barrier and supporting infrastructure. The agency said it was seeking public input. We have a way for you to comment on KENS5.com.
Todd Benson is the author of America's Covert Border War. We're happy to have him join us tonight. Todd, thanks so much for coming on. So give us a sense of the scale of this. It just seems historic.
Well, 154,000 in a single month is unacceptably high. You mentioned that it's double from January from last year, but the year before that, January, it was 36,000, just to give you an idea. The numbers totally are about 2 million for just 1 year, the first year of the Biden administration. And this is directly on his shoulders. It was his policies that set this thing off, and I don't think anybody should forget that. There is something interesting about these numbers, though. 154,000, they are declining month by month. The peak of this, what I call the Biden border crisis, was in July at 219,000. Last month it was 178,000, and so the numbers do seem to be kind of creeping down. And there might be a few good reasons for that, some interesting explanations for that as well. One of which is that the Biden administration is looking at these poll numbers, terrible polling for the midterm elections, and they're ordering up some pretty Trumpian kind of deterrence-based policies like air deportation flights. Very significant numbers of Guatemalan women and children. They're flying all the way back to the tarmac in Guatemala and also in Honduras and El Salvador, and they just restarted air repatriation flights to Haiti. And I think that maybe there's a chance that, that those are radioactive to, migrants who are coming up. Nobody wants to cross the border, spend a whole bunch of smuggling money if they think that they're going to be heading all the way back to square one. It's a possibility.
Well, if you made them cool their heels in Tijuana indefinitely, that might be even a greater deterrent, I would think. What do I know? Todd Benson, great to see you. Thank you.